This is the Hudson Broadcasting Corporation from our outside broadcast facilities in the heart of London's fashionable Chiswick district, bringing to you the ever-popular radio programme Musical Talk, the forum for intelligent conversation and the occasional seamless retake to take out the rude bits.
This is Musical Talk.
Musical Talk, the UK independent musical theatre podcast.
I'm Nick Hudson. Hello, I'm with David Herzog.
Hello again, musical talkers.
Making his welcome return to Musical Talk. Hello, Musical Talkers. I'm David Herzog.
It's good to be back. It's been way too long.
It has.
They've missed the accent, I reckon.
Yes, we have. We have. We have lots of wonderful things coming up in this week's episode. We are going to be hearing my thoughts, Dom's thoughts, and Jonathan Cohen's thoughts on 42nd Street. It's odd we have you coming back on Musical Talk, and we have Jonathan making his biannual appearance on the podcast. Oh, I know. And we're also going to be hearing from Dom talking to the head of the London School of Musical Theatre, which is very exciting.
Very cool.
On Sunday we had the Olivier Awards, so we're going to recap those for those of you who didn't read about them. The Harry Potter play was a massive success.
That was the big headline this year, wasn't it?
Olivier Awards, and I haven't seen it yet. I do want to go because it does sound like a wonderful coup de théâtre.
Fancy words.
I've always wondered, why isn't it a musical though? I know we have the Harry Potter musical, whatever it is, but
we've had that, yeah.
You think it would be the thing to...
I'm assuming because of the content that they have for it. There's so much content that they've obviously had to break the show into two separate plays, basically, or a play in two parts.
Do they really?
I'm assuming with all the stuff they wanted to put in the story.
Could they just get a dramaturg in and like cut things?
I don't know, but I'm guessing with all the content they have in there to begin with, there's no room for musical theatre songs and dance numbers and the like.
But they can move the story quicker than dialogue can.
It can, absolutely, depending on how one uses it.
But it's such a massive commercial venture. You think?
I assume that their budget has to be outstanding at this point, without having to pay for an orchestra, without having to pay for choreography.
And it's just announced it's going to the Lyric Theatre at Broadway, I believe.
Is it really?
It's quite a big theatre. I think it's the second biggest. And they're going to redo the whole theatre to make it look like the kind of the Hogwarts
Of course, yeah,
experience.
They'll go nuts. It's America, they'll do it.
Yeah.
They'll do it big and better.
Bigger and better and more expensive.
That's right. And not necessarily better, just bigger. Let's be honest.
We also have had an announcement. We'll get back to the videos, but we've also had an announcement that today that Matilda is going to go on a UK tour.
Oh, that's great. Oh, good. It's easily one of my favourite pieces that I've seen, certainly in London.
It's only taken 7 years or something.
Right, exactly. And haven't they announced recently a film venture? Is that something that's always just been
it wasn't recently. It was a while ago. They mentioned that they were going to be doing a film of it, which would be interesting to see.
With the British cast, of course.
I would hope so, but I'm sure they'll put Emma Watson in and they can have her not sing again. She plays Miss Honey.
Well, she would make a good Miss Honey, I'm not going to lie, especially after her Beauty and the Beast venture, which I thoroughly enjoyed. Went with my wife, went and saw it, we absolutely loved it. I think I jokingly said to you, but it's true, I can almost forgive her what sounded like a split second of auto-tuning in the opening number of Belle, which I normally detest auto-tuning, but I really do forgive it because the rest of the film was absolutely phenomenal. We had a great time seeing it.
It's a lovely film.
And she would make a good Miss Honey, I think.
Yes.
That's just me.
Or Miss
If you
Trunchbull.
disagree, you'll let me know.
Get Bertie Carvelin to do Miss Trunchbull again.
Oh, I wonder if that would translate well on film. What do you think?
Probably. This is
the magic of movies.
Way in the future when I talk about the winners for the Olivier Awards.
We digress.
Speaking of Tim Minchin and co, massive congratulations to them for winning Best Musical
Groundhog Day won
Day.
Best Musical. That's great. I still haven't seen it yet. Have you?
Which is sort of opening at the moment on Broadway. I saw it at the Old Vic, and it was brilliant. And it's such an odd choice for a musical because you think it's just the same thing over and over and over again. It's like a Lloyd Webber score.
Oh, but take that. Yeah, you would think that kind of storyline is easy to do with the magic of the movies, but can one also produce that kind of a show with the magic of musical theatre?
And what I love about the score, what it did is it took the scene, which is a song, and it broke the musical structure down as the scene went on. So more and more dissonances were introduced, and it starts off really happy because it's a fun day. Then what's the town called? Punxsutawney.
Punxsutawney, Pennsylvania, an actual town, not a made up town.
It's like Intercourse, Pennsylvania, is a real place.
It is a real place, but it's right down the road from Blue Ball, Pennsylvania. Not gonna lie.
Yeah. So, Groundhog Days won Best Musical and Best Actor for Andy Karl. Tell us about Andy Karl.
The only thing I've known Andy Karl from, I'm sure he's had a very prolific career, but the thing I know him from is being one of the original Altar Boys in the famous off-Broadway production, and he's on the cast recording for that as well.
Okay.
It's really funny to look on the cast recording album cover and see his fresh-faced boy band, chiseled good looks. I'm straight, I swear to God. And then to then see him in all the...
Hand off me, David.
And then to see him in all the press material for Groundhog Day, here he is, this
gruff kind of.
Yeah, he's got the grown-up look now.
Now you're a massive fan of the film.
Very big fan of the film, yeah.
The musical I enjoyed more because obviously it's a musical and you're seeing it there, but the effort of the cast. Can you imagine being an actor, possibly in an ensemble, not changing your performance for the entire... doing that scene over and over and over and over and over and over again?
I mean, you say that, Mr. Hudson, but I'm guessing doing 8 shows a week of any show is a lot like living Groundhog Day in real life.
Doing 8 shows a week of doing the same scene.
I know what you mean. Yeah, it's like through the looking glass for musical theatre performers, really, isn't it?
So congratulations to Andy Karl. Congratulations also to Amber Riley, who won Best Actress for Dreamgirls.
Very nice, yeah. American Girl.
Yeah, which I haven't seen. Have you seen?
I've not seen it either. I love the piece, though. I enjoyed the film, and of course I enjoyed Amber's work on the TV show Glee, which takes place in Ohio, my home state.
Other TV shows are available.
Yeah.
Do they choose Ohio because it's boring?
It's possible then, so they could sort of liven it up with its.
I mean, when your claim to fame is a rock and roll gallery and a theme park,
Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, yeah. No, Ohio's a very sort of typical state in a lot of ways, with very sort of typical small towns in it. That might be part of it as well. I think it's interesting to point out that our friends at Mischief Theatre Company, they got a nomination this year for the comedy about a bank robbery, which is easily classified as a play with music, and we covered them on the program as well when they were on. So it's a shame to see that they didn't get the win this year.
They're doing all right for themselves.
I think they're doing okay, considering they had 3 shows going on at once over the Christmas period.
And one on television, and opening on Broadway, and it's in Australia and China and the moon. And
I think they'll be able to eat. They'll be okay.
Yes. So near me, there's a theatre in Ealing called the Questers Theatre, where Henry Lewis of Mischief Theatre started and taught.
Oh, that's right, yeah.
And now he's a reasonably big star, you could say.
Yeah, he's now overseas back in my neck of the woods in the city. And
I do want to see a comedy about a bank robbery.
Have you not seen it yet?
No. Peter Pan has also had songs in it.
It did.
So I've always said, guys, I'll write it with you. Do the musical that goes wrong. Give us another dose of Too Close to the Sun.
And that has to easily be in the pipeline for them. That's just the next logical choice.
They've also got the Nativity that goes wrong.
They do, yeah.
Which they haven't staged yet in the West End.
It's only a matter of time, by golly.
Here in London, the New York Times cannot kill a show. In New York, I believe if a show doesn't win any Tonys, it might close the next day.
It's possible. Yeah, we were just talking before we recorded the podcast, though. The awards that are starting to gain more notoriety, or maybe they already have in New York, the ones that seem to have the best reputation are actually the Drama Desk Awards. But I suppose in terms of getting an audience draw, obviously the Tonys are more popular with the general theatre-going public, as it were.
Whereas here, no one really cares.
No, the Olivier Awards don't necessarily sell a show here, do they?
It's very much for the theatre crowd.
Right.
Congratulations to Rebecca Treherne from Showboat. Now, you saw Showboat, didn't you?
Did indeed. Loved it. Yeah, and we covered it on the podcast. We talked to Miss Gina Beck, who was the lead in that. She did a wonderful job. Would have been nice to see her get a nomination, not of course, but it was nice to see Rebecca Treherne had a win for her role. Did a very nice job as well.
Jesus Christ Superstore won Best Revival.
Yes, indeed. Yeah, the Regent's Park.
They're bringing it back.
The band for Jesus Christ Superstar at the Open Air Theatre also got a nod for Outstanding Achievement in Music.
Yes, and the band for School of Rock won the award for Outstanding Achievement in Music because it's played by 9-year-olds.
I hear it's very well deserved for the kids. I've heard nothing, except from you, I've heard nothing but good things from School of Rock.
The kids are astonishing. It's just when you're sat there and you hear someone else's story from chess, you get a bit annoyed.
I know. We all know what you think, fella. No, so yeah, very, very excited for the kids from the School of Rock cast for winning that.
Dreamgirls has done quite well.
Yeah, they did, because they also had the win for Best Supporting Actor, essentially, haven't they, for Adam J. Bernard.
There's stories now they want to get rid of actor and actress and just have Best Supporting. Why are they splitting up for actor and actress? That they're trying to change that. Do you think that's a good decision?
I mean, how long has that decision been going on for the Oliviers? It's been a category in, like, say, like the Academy Awards ever since I could remember.
But they're trying to degenderize it entirely. They're just trying to have best performer in a musical.
It sounds fascinating, and it could be very beneficial. And it could sort of help in terms of perhaps the unfortunate pay gap that we constantly hear about, certainly in film, but also in theatre as well.
So congratulations to everyone who won Oliviers. We weren't there this year, but I was at Alice's Adventures Underground.
Did you enjoy yourself, sir?
I did very much. No songs, though, so we won't talk about that. But it was a brilliant piece of immersive theatre. We will be at the Oliviers next year. I'm now going to hand you over to a discussion that I had with Dominic McChesney and Jonathan Cohen about 42nd Street, that is playing at the Theatre Royal, Drury Lane. I am sat here with Dominic McChesney. Hello, Dom.
Hello.
How are you?
I'm very well, thank
you. Good.
you.
And joining us for his biannual centennial performance on Musical Talk, it's TV's Jonathan Cohen. Hello.
Yes, and I'm sitting here, not sat here, Nick.
Yeah, okay,
because,
good.
You know.
So, last night, Dom and I were at the opening night of 42nd Street at the London home of 42nd Street, the Theatre Royal, Drury Lane. Jonathan, you're going to see it in a few days.
I am, and I'm very much looking forward to it.
We've all seen the original production, actually, at the Theatre Royal, Drury Lane.
You weren't born, Nick, were you?
I was.
Only just. You must have been about 3.
I think I was 4 or 5, and all I remember saying to my mother is, "When are the coins coming on?"
I think that's Musical Talk archive.
Yes.
It's history. It's written in stone.
And it's written in coins. It was the first big show I ever saw, so it was quite moving for me to be back there last night, 25 years on, or however long it's been. To say it was mind-blowingly, insert adjective here, would be an understatement, Dom.
Oh, it was wonderful. Yes, great.
And it's a review. Good night, everybody. Jonathan, you're now going to share your thoughts on the original production.
Yes, I mean,
It was their opening night, you know.
I've realised that you mean in the 30s. No, but it was a film, wasn't it? Before it was a stage show.
In the 80s, it was David Merrick's big stage show, wasn't it?
Yes, it was. It was. I remember a friend of mine was in it. It was somebody called Gay Brown, an actress called Gay Brown, and I remember enjoying it and just thinking, gosh, isn't there a lot of tapping? Because that's what it's all about.
Does that bother you?
Huh?
Does that bother you?
No, because I knew it was about tap dancing, didn't
Yes, you don't want to go into the show not liking tap
No,
dance.
if you didn't, you'd have a very miserable time. I remember when I was in New York one time and I saw it there, and Millicent Martin must have played Brock, is it?
Yes,
Dorothy Brock.
Yes.
And I've just remembered doing that, the one who breaks her foot or whatever it is.
She broke her leg.
Or was that
ankle? I think it was.
And I think I enjoyed that very much, but it was very much like the one in London. I suppose they're all the same, are they? I mean, is the revival bigger and brighter, or what?
They really have. They've taken a lot of those iconic moments you remembered from the original production, and they've reimagined it. It really is a revisal in the proper sense of the word.
Or revival, even.
No, because they use the word
it's revisal of a revival.
Yes.
But having said that,
it's not a revisal of a revival. It's a revisal because it's not a revival.
Okay.
Put that in writing, please.
Yes, because okay. I sort of I'll have to get my head around this. But I was thinking also because it's Bramble, isn't it? Mark Bramble.
Yes, Mark Bramble co-wrote the book with Michael Stewart of Cy Coleman.
Yeah, are you
fame.
impressed? I did that without looking at the programme,
Yeah.
Nick. And
he directed the
and
show.
he directed the show. And I gather he was a tremendously hard taskmaster because Paul Knight, who plays the audition pianist, who a friend of mine told me that it was very, very hard work, but it clearly has paid off.
I very nearly was so overwhelmed last night. I nearly burst into tears many times in the show.
Oh, I'm sure.
I personally, ironically, even though I have seen something like that, it was the only bit I remember from the original show was the dressing room coming on stage, right?
And the coins.
And the coins. But to see it properly done on opening night, We're in the Money got a standing ovation, didn't it?
Yes, it did, yes.
Just reading the reviews and also reading the pre-reviews. The what did you say?
Preview reviews.
No, what did you call it? Revisals. The reprisals. The reprisals. They were saying that there's a brilliant Busby Berkeley thing with a big mirror above. Is that right?
They fly down a mirror when they're doing Dames, which actually goes in. They've added a couple of extra songs, I think. They start off doing Dames and then they go into Keep Young and Beautiful, and they bring down the mirror and the mirror tilts so all the audience can then see the girls doing.
Which is also the same thing we have in the producers.
Yes, that's true. But that wasn't in the original stage production, was it? Because I don't recall seeing.
No, they had like a garden effect with this slide, and then they all walked down a gazebo.
And then a really nice effect. The girls were lying in the circular motion, And obviously to mirror, no pun intended, what Busby Berkeley did in the film, the girls started spinning on a revolve.
Oh.
So they started spinning in the mirror, and that got a round of applause.
Yes, I'm sure it would. Well, those things do, don't they?
Yes.
So I
girls in the London Palladium.
I did see footage of the UK Productions touring show, and that also had the mirror effect. It's a weird show, this, because there's the film, which was a dreadful film, apparently, in all the reviews I've read.
It's not dreadful. It's of its time. It's just, you watch it now and you go, this is terribly dated. You have to watch the film and accept that it's of its time.
Or in some cases of reviews, you watch this musical and think it's terribly dated.
Yeah, that annoys me slightly when I read that, because I think it's not meant to have a great message. It's a period piece. It is a period piece. So to criticise it because of its views on women and things like that, I think is unfair. I understand that there is a voice nowadays that says that, but if you start judging all period pieces over today's values, then I think you get into a lot of trouble. There are some things that maybe do warrant being judged.
Well, it would be, wouldn't they? I mean, forgive me for interrupting, Dom, but I was just thinking things like the Black and White Minstrel Show, if you were to bring that back, you just couldn't do it.
No, and it would be completely inappropriate.
But then women might say, oh, well, it's very demeaning to women and this, that, the other, mightn't they, in some cases? Because it's a silly little girl who's got no brains, who... You know, that's what they're saying, aren't they, a little bit?
But, well, I think that's maybe what they're saying, but the whole point of it is that she does have that thing inside her. She has that energy.
She's not a speck of dust.
No, she's not. And she doesn't mind being a speck of dust at that point. And that's a comment not about women, that's a comment about the chorus and people in the show. The fact is that she does have that talent, but it needs the character of Julian Marsh, and I'm not saying it needs a man to bring it out, but it needs Julian Marsh to bring it out.
But then in those days it would have been men. So what we're saying is we have to go with that conceit, don't we?
Yes, this is set in 1933.
And Dorothy Brock is in no way a character to be walked over. She's a powerful character that has a lot of power. And she's got the big movie star. Okay. And Sheena Easton, just going off on a tangent, there's a few moments where Sheena Easton, I felt she was certainly channeling a little bit of Bette Davis. There was a few moments when she went, oh! It was just these wonderful little moments. And I almost expected her to cover one eye, So,
and what a stunning vocal performance!
Oh, incredible!
Well, I mean, she had hits, didn't she? Galore in the 80s, I think.
But why hasn't she done more musicals?
Well, she's done a few.
Has she?
Yeah, she did. She did Dulcinea in Man of La Mancha on Broadway.
Did she really?
And I think she would have been fantastic. I'd love to have seen that. I bet she was fantastic.
But just looking at some pictures now, it really is an astonishing visual feast, isn't it?
I love the colours, the pastel colours, and
if Mark Bramble was being heavy on the cast, which is very difficult for people to do now because people walk out. You can't do the
human rights.
You can't do the Martinet bit. But the fact is, he was probably doing it much the same way that they might have done then anyway, which is probably why it's so concise.
Well, and David Merrick, of course, his reputation was not one of being... Well, it was, his reputation as a producer was incredible. But as a person, he was not meant to be the easiest person to get along with, was he? I mean... No. But also the original production was originally directed and choreographed by Gower Champion because it was his last show because he actually died
opening night.
Was it opening night? And so maybe Mark Bramble took over the direction.
Oh, maybe.
Because there was the whole thing of he suddenly died of the heart attack, I believe. Right. So it was a big shock, and then the show became such a huge hit. But it was his last, and he was meant to be lovely and fantastic to work with, allegedly.
So we do have the lovely Busby Berkeley visual moment. There's another beautiful shadow moment.
Yes, and this is one of the things that I really loved. The difference between this and the original production is because this shadow, the shadow song,
waltz,
in the shadows, the shadow waltz. And
you have 40 girls lying on front of the stage in their kind of bathing suits,
doing these wonderful harmonies.
Yeah,
I mean the chorus singing and the harmonies.
Now I know Jay Alexander, who is the musical director, so I'm really pleased for him that he's got a chance to do this. It's wonderful.
And
he goes up and down on his little pedestal.
Does he? A lot?
Yes.
No, only the beginning and the end.
Right. But he got mentioned in a couple of the reviews, so I thought that's nice.
But he was a showman himself. The fact that he came up and he was.
Oh yeah, well that's
he
very
just
Jay.
looked like everyone on that stage, and he Jay as well, looked like they were just having an absolute ball, and that's what you want when you go. You just want to feel confident.
But you went on opening night, so I hope they've still got it for in 2 days' time.
Well, there was one performer, and I won't mention their name, but there was one performer who I've seen before, and I saw them in a show. I think they've been doing a long time, and it was less than phoning it in when I saw in that show.
Texting it in, I think.
Texting it in. And it was a walkthrough and just no enthusiasm. And
in this? Or?
Well, no, in the show that I'd seen them in before. And they're in this show. And they were absolutely fantastic and really giving their all. It was weird because I sat there going, see, you can do it. Yeah. You have got that.
So when we finish this, you can let me know who it is.
Yes, I'll say the name.
I want to give special credit to Claire Hulse, who plays Peggy Sawyer.
Now, is she from Arts Ed?
Yes, of course.
Arts Ed do amazing
and
stuff.
It's kind of must be surreal for her playing this young ingenue who's about to do her first big role on Broadway, and here she is. She's done bits before, but this is a massive part.
So this is her first big role, is it? So she played Miss Dorothy in. I was just looking at the different shows she does. So this is her biggest role that she's played so far.
Yeah. And there you have playing opposite Sheena Easton, who's a massive, respected star. I'm just trying to think, there is a bit of life imitating art, imitating life.
But Dom, when you and I saw it, and I saw it quite late on when Gay Brown had taken over this particular part, it was
Jill Gascoigne,
and
Catherine Zeta-Jones.
Catherine Zeta-Jones. Now, Catherine Zeta-Jones was playing
Peggy.
Peggy. She must have been brilliant. I mean,
she was. I remember because obviously she was virtually unknown. I didn't. So
the thing is, I can remember seeing it. I can remember the tapping and all this. I can remember very little else about it.
Well, that's all there is. That's all you need.
I suppose that's why, because the story doesn't.
Well, the story is not hugely strong, but it's typical. I mean, it is the understudy or the girl who becomes the big star.
And of course, it's slightly ersatz, isn't it? The actual musical, because the half the numbers, like Lullaby at Broadway, weren't in the 1933 version. I don't.
The Lullaby at Broadway is. There's only 4 songs in the film.
Actual film.
Yeah. And it's a jukebox. Thus, it's a jukebox musical. Isn't
yes, I believe it is. So
the songs.
Well, rather like An American in Paris is.
Yes,
because they did the same thing there, and they shoehorned other songs in, haven't they?
Claire Hulse is astonishing, and she does tap like I'd never seen in my life. And
she really is. I mean, it's lovely when you see a show and I've said this on Musical Tour before, but when you see a show and you just go, if I know that person is going to be in the show, I will go and see it. They're going to become a draw. She is that kind of person.
Now, having looked at the reviews this morning, some of them suggested that Claire Hulse she just said her tap dancing is unbelievable, but whether she got some of the vulnerability they weren't sure about. What did you feel?
I felt she did. If I'm being picky, maybe the vulnerability might be better.
Yeah.
However, she had moments where she proved she is a very good comedian.
Okay.
There were some moments that were genuinely very funny.
This would be picky. And Tom Lister, a couple of them said he wasn't nasty enough or something.
Oh.
But then somebody said that he actually added a bit of niceness to it. I know you wanted to see the same show half the time.
Yeah, it's bizarre because I thought it was great because it was nice to see that gentler side of Julian Marsh.
Yeah.
His voice is wonderful in Lullaby at Broadway.
Do we know him?
Wow.
I don't think I know him.
He's on Legally Blonde at the Curve Leicester, where he played Galahad. But mostly
good musical.
Mostly Emmerdale seems to be.
But it's great that you're doing this the morning after, and it just sounds as if you're still buzzing from it, which is great.
Yes.
Call me Busby.
But then all the people who've seen the previews that friends of mine, and also on Facebook and things like that, everybody's just said it's absolutely wonderful. So
I've never left a theatre and heard so much adulation for a show since Matilda.
They were all buzzing, were they?
Everyone kind of almost felt exhausted. You kind of walk out thinking, I feel like I've tapped every step with them. We should also mention Stuart Neal, who plays Billy Lauder. He's I think the Tim Flavin part was in the original.
Tim's wonderful.
Yes.
Yeah. Anyway, this boy's good.
Wonderful. Very, very good.
And he's the one who he's the Juve lead.
Yes, the Juve lead. So he's got his nice comedy role and wonderful dancer. I mean, really good. Everybody was so good.
Yeah.
I mean, mean, really...
it's great for Sheena Easton as well, although it's not a huge part, is it, the Sheena Easton part?
She's in the first half. The second half, she only appears once, I think.
With the
Yes.
All the principals are great, but whilst in so many musicals, it is the 40-strong ensemble.
Yeah.
Nowhere other than that stage. I don't think even Broadway has a stage the size of the Drury Lane.
Yes. But the one thing I did notice that I really loved is you don't often see that these days, and especially a show like this, which is so chorus-based. Yeah. It would be very easy for the chorus to become all faceless. And yet, if you're watching it, you get these individual characters. So you look at each of the different chorus people, and then they kind of come back in different scenes. Yeah. And they've created this little character in their heads. And when they open Act 2 with Sunny Side of Every Situation,
right,
and they're singing and all the lights are coming on in the different dressing rooms, you are getting these individual characters that was just
and it's the
so
same
nice.
in the bus.
Yes, exactly.
I mean, how much of that is down to Mark Bramble? We don't know.
Well, I was just thinking, do you get the impression Mark Bramble, if he's directing all these different shows, if he's just going by the notes now and not... If this was a completely different creative team, how would you completely reimagine this show, if that would even be possible?
Yes, I don't know.
You see, my feeling is, and this is very often the same with American directors, isn't it, and American productions in general, that they tend to repeat everything, and you can't put a foot, you can't do anything different. It becomes
very cookie cutter.
Yeah. Well, they have the massive numbers on the stage for the positions, don't they?
The tracks, they're called, aren't they? Tracks have been there for a long time. Do you know what I mean by
it's like you stand in box A4 and put your hand up.
Because I think you almost have to do this in musicals, don't you? Otherwise, you got to... And what about if you're getting someone else in to take over? There's never time, is there? So you've got to follow the... And
the people I was sat next to, actually, they'd seen the production in New York that this revival started as. I mean, several years ago. And he said that this production is better. The enthusiasm, there was just something about this which just had that little spark.
But do you think that was just because
opening night?
I was going to say, we have to remember we were at the height of this show's
very, very much heightened. Well, hopefully not forget,
so. But there was a review of people who went to the first preview. They said it was unbelievable. Nothing went wrong. And it was as if it had been running for ages, which they probably had been running it in rehearsals forever. And they said it was absolutely phenomenal from the word go. What sort of value are reviews anymore? I'm not sure they have the same...
Well, none apart from ours.
Obviously.
We know what we're talking about.
No, but it's interesting because I think these days people... I mean, if it'll get coach loads, won't it?
You're going on Friday, Jonathan.
I am going on
Friday. Are you more
next.
curious / excited now?
No.
Okay.
I just want to because it's still 42nd Street, but I mean, I'm looking forward to it because you're both so enthusiastic about it that I feel I will.
We're nothing compared to what we saw last night. I think some people had to sit down for 10 minutes after watching it.
Right.
In such a state.
Yes, but don't forget. I mean, we're all in the business here. I am and Dom is. I mean, I always sit and watching shows and I think, my God, all that talent up there. I often do that. And I'm much more forgiving, I think, on the whole, than probably most reviewers are. Although not always.
I think I'm the same. I mean, I can quite... Which I don't... Even with some of my peers who went to drama school with, that sometimes a lot of them say, we've lost that ability to go and see something... without being critical, and I don't think I've really particularly lost that.
You mean you haven't actually got to that jaded
No,
thing?
I actually think... I mean, sometimes I see things and I go, oh, that's awful, or that's not my taste. Yeah. Generally, I still have that ability to go there and just forget and completely willingly suspend my disbelief, to quote Thingy.
How big is the orchestra?
It's quite big, I think, isn't it?
Is it 30, 40?
No, it's not that big.
But have they got strings and things?
No. It's not a string show.
Well, hello.
It's brass, winds, reeds.
Well, it would be all
horns,
that.
Percussion.
Whereas the orchestra, here it is.
That's quite big for nowadays, isn't it?
Yeah, it's got more than 4 people in it. So.
Okay, right.
Yeah, I mean, it was interesting because in American in Paris, I spoke to the musical director, and he said they cut a few musos out, instruments out from the Broadway one, and I thought, Why do they do that? It's a musical. The music is so
on Broadway, each theatre has a minimum amount of musicians that have to perform in the show.
I think I knew
whereas
that.
we don't have that here. Okay. So obviously they have to do it on Broadway, whereas here they don't. So they look at it as a budget. Let's save money.
Yeah. Okay. Oh my goodness, Andy Findon on alto saxophone. He's a star.
Is he?
Yeah. He's absolutely amazing. So I mean, it's Jamie Talbot.
I'm sure that there's a big sax solo in something, isn't there?
In the slow tap.
Yes.
I would think probably that J. Alexander probably has picked a lot of these people, I would think.
It's a good size orchestra, though.
Yeah.
It's a good sound.
Yes, I mean... we should mention those things that... Because you guys will pick up on, like, orchestrations as such, but that doesn't register so well with me. This is one of the first shows that I noticed the lighting. Usually I don't...
Those shows are dark that Dom goes.
Well, I actually sat there going, this lighting is incredible.
Right.
I mean, if it doesn't win awards somewhere for that... Well, in Shuffle Off to Buffalo, they're talking through the square train carriage compartments, and their spotlights will light it up, and then before the spotlight dies, it turns into a square and then disappears. And I'm going, oh my God, that's amazing.
Yeah.
But the colours, and there's some beautiful spotlight moments the end of Act 1, where Sheena Easton stands there ready to sing 42nd Street. It's beautiful kind of smash of spotlight, that 3 of them that just go on her. But it's a truly wonderful show. Visually, you just leave remembering the noise of those tap shoes and some excellent visual moments. That's what theatre is all about for some people. That's what
it really
was.
I mean, I said, that this is really, it made me leave going, oh, God, I just love theatre so much. The 3 girls who play the friends, Emma Caffrey, who plays Annie, which she's like the comic Corinne, was brilliant. I mean, she looks stunning and very, very funny. And Ella Martine and Claire Ricard, they really were brilliant.
Because you're always a fan of the secondary comedy characters, aren't you?
Oh, yes, I it's one of those things, but these characters, everyone was embracing their role. It was just so nice to see that.
Just got to keep it up.
To sort of critique it, it's nothing to do with the actor's performance. I know the actor who plays him, he's a very seasoned actor, but it's the sugar daddy of...
Bruce Montague. I mean, he's been around for years. I mean, he's a
the character of
a legend.
Of Amber Dillon, I just think it didn't get as many laughs as it could have. Did you feel that?
Not particularly. I think it's a difficult role, but he does.
He plays it brilliantly. I just don't think it's the greatest.
It's not the greatest role, but he was excellent in it, and it's a necessary role.
By the way, Jonathan, there is a gunshot in the show. So
my fingers in my ears.
If any listeners out there have the same unfortunate phobia that Jonathan Cohen of Play Away has,
and I can't go to the theatre ever,
there is a gunshot during the ballet scene. Is it, Dom? It's more.
Well, it is.
Is it right at the end?
It's during 42nd Street.
Yeah.
It's like Slaughter on 10th Avenue.
Oh, is it? That's what it's parodying, isn't it?
I think so. I believe that's what it is. After hearing taps for
2
hours
so
at that
you don't
point.
get a terrible shock.
Not at all.
You see it coming.
You see it coming. Yes.
It doesn't pop out of nowhere.
I don't think.
And how far is into it? Is it?
It's towards the end. It's in the big 42nd Street number.
Okay.
So you'll know when it's happening. It's very, very clear because there's a thief on stage and he steals a bag, and then a cop. It's not any louder than the tapping has been. So
right.
So 42nd Street is playing at the beautiful, beautiful Theatre Royal, Drury Lane.
Buy a ticket.
Go and get it and go and see it.
Sell your grandmother.
Yes. Bury her, dig her up, and then sell her.
Musical talk.
David, you're a fan of retro, clapped-out, tired old musicals, aren't you? So,
yes, in a manner of speaking.
Are you excited you're going to see 42nd Street?
I would love to see 42nd Street because I've actually never seen a production of it done before. I know a handful of songs from it, never even seen the film.
Okay.
Because that was one of the first musicals, certainly back in the 80s, to be based on a film, which a lot of people don't realize. 42nd Street was never a stage production until the 1980s when it opened on Broadway.
30s stage show or something.
You assume it is, because when Hollywood first came to be in the U.S., the most popular types of film that Hollywood were making were adaptations of musicals or movies about the creation of a musical, which 42nd Street is.
But the film only has about 3 songs in it.
Is that right?
And it's also a jukebox musical. So they took other songs by the composing team and shove loads of...
Yeah, because a lot of them are famous standards like We're in the Money,
Yeah.
Da 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 da, and of course Lullaby of Broadway, easily the most
But
famous.
that was in 42nd Street.
Was that originally in for... Oh, okay. There you go.
So Dom sat down with Adrian Jeckells, who is the principal of the London School of Musical Theatre, and here is what they had to say.
Hello, I'm sat here with Adrian Jeckells, who is the principal of the London School of Musical Theatre. We will talk at a later date about the requirements for students who are entering musical theatre in this day and age, because I know we've had a little chat already, and there's a lot of changes suddenly from when we were doing shows many years ago.
It was a long time ago, wasn't it?
Long time ago.
But
so
happy memories of many shows.
Very much so. And Adrian, welcome to Musical Talk.
Thank you.
And this is just going to be a little mini talk because you're doing a production of King of Hearts and 9 to 5.
Mm-hmm.
And they're opening very soon at the Bridewell. So can I just ask what made you choose... we'll talk about 9 to 5 as well, but what made you go for King of Hearts?
The King of Hearts, well, it's a lovely story, actually. My director and I sat down and we were debating what title would suit our year group. And I'm always attracted to the obscure and the forgotten and shows which absolutely need an audience again, need to blow the dust off them. And the glory of a musical theatre school is that we don't have to do things for commercial purposes. We know that we're going to have an audience. And we were sitting around and struggling a bit. And our director suddenly said, what about King of Hearts? And he knew somebody who was in the production at the Lyceum in Edinburgh in 1981. And it rang a bell, and I said, I think I own that CD, and I think I probably listened to it once. And sure enough, I did. I had a copy at home. So I went home that night and listened and was completely in love with it instantly. I just think the piece has such relevance for today. I was also able to get hold of the original Philippe de Broca film of 1964 with Alan Bates, which
I've seen it on. I think it was on YouTube, the whole thing, but it's in French, isn't it?
It is, but I found it with subtitles.
Wow.
Yeah. I think it's a musical of today. I think it tells a lovely story, and the eternal questions of what is more insane, the antics of the inmates of the local insane asylum, or the people that are raging war across Europe. Maybe I should tell you a little bit about the story.
Yes,
please. So Johnny is a young soldier who is desperate to impress, and he volunteers his services to enter a village in France to defuse a bomb. All we know, the jeopardy at the beginning of the musical, is that a bomb has been planted in this town. He arrives and the town has been completely evacuated, and he thinks, well, this is a waste of time, until he suddenly realises that the town has been evacuated with the exception of the inmates of the insane asylum. And he enters the asylum, and they proclaim him their King of Hearts through a lovely bit of crosstalk and exploratory dialogue where they're playing cards. He then encourages the people to leave the asylum and explore life to the full. And we are surrounded by a beautiful list of bonkers characters of dukes and duchesses and gendarmes and gypsies and circus performers and whoever the insane want to be. And overshadowing the whole musical is the war in Europe, and not forgetting the fact that there is a bomb. And
of course,
the
yes.
jeopardy of the piece is that this bomb could go off, and if he doesn't get the inmates of the asylum out of the town, they will all perish. And I'm not going to give the end away to you.
No, at all. No, I don't want to know the answers.
But it has a beauty about it, and it I don't know. I think it ranges from early Monty Python to something really relevant of today. The music itself could be early Jerry Herman. There's bits of sort of French Dear World, perhaps early Stephen Schwartz, and Pippin, of course, coming through. The piece is scored for 7, a lovely orchestral arrangement with viola and cello, and it's delicate. It's delicate. So,
do you use a full orchestra?
Yeah, we will have 7 for this,
yes.
Which is nice. And the idea of this production is to give the students as near as possible experience of what it would be like to be in a professionally produced musical when they leave. So yes, everybody will be radio mic'd, a proper band. And
now you've got a lovely tradition of, I know in your past productions, you have chosen things that are very well known, such as Rent, and they have huge followings like American Idiot, and you've done Wild Party, so you've done a lot of contemporary shows, but I've seen you have chosen some of those shows that you post and I go, oh my god, you're doing that, and I get very excited.
2 years ago we did Redhead, which was one which very early, Bob Fosse, Gwen Verdon, beautiful piece, murder mystery set in the East End of London in a waxworks museum, and so for us to be doing it just off Fleet Street.
I think it was a premiere.
Yes, I think it probably was.
Redhead has ever been done in England.
No, I think you're right. And that was a beautiful experience. Yes.
And you've done Carnival, which is a lovely show.
Bob Merrill show.
Yes.
Which, Yep. Yes, I do like the weird and wonderful. Balance.
You also balance it with the contemporary shows. Now, this year you're doing 9 to 5, which is got a huge following, is very, very popular. There hasn't been a West End production.
There hasn't. There was a UK tour which didn't come into town. Reasons behind this, twofold really. One is that I've got a lot of girls on the course this year, and a lot of girls with very lovely, twangy American Broadway sound, and I was looking for a vehicle to really show them off.
Yes.
And I suddenly realised that what better time with the new Trump administration for doing a musical about misogynistic, bigoted bosses and sorry, yes, allegedly, and a chance for it's pure girl power. Yeah. Girls getting revenge on their boss.
That's actually it is.
So it kind of felt, although we're setting it traditionally in 1979, there's a relevance to that.
Where can people see these, and when?
Well, both shows are on at the Bridewell Theatre, which is a beautiful theatre off Fleet Street in the centre of London, and King of Hearts plays from the 15th to the 19th of April. And there are 6 performances, and 9 to 5 plays slightly later. That is playing from the 24th to the 28th of April. And tickets can be booked by email at tickets@lsmt, i.e. London School Musical Theatre.co.uk, or our booking hotline 0207 407 4407. I'd love to see you.
And you also have links to this on your website for the London School of Musical Theatre, so there's information about the shows there. Yeah. So, I shall certainly be there. Very looking forward to that. And thank you very much, and I look forward to talking to you in the future about everything London School of Musical Theatre.
Thank you. Look forward to it.
David Herzog, thank you very much for joining me on the Musical Talk sofa.
Thanks, fella. It's good to be back.
Discuss musicals.
Hope to do it again sometime.
Talk about musicals. Musical Discuss. That should be our next show. Anything coming up that you're excited to do? Talk about?
I'm hoping to go. We were talking before. I'm hoping to make a trip to New York soon, and I haven't seen a Broadway show since 2012, which is I'm starting to get withdrawal symptoms, by golly, so I need to go back and see some shows there for sure.
I
just like anything, really. Of course, Hamilton will be the great one to see, but there's also, I would love to catch up with the Mischief Theatre Company over there and see how they're doing. But also I have some acquaintances who have just opened up, it's a husband and wife team who've written the musical Come From Away, which is a musical dealing with September 11th subject material, which is very fascinating, so I would love to check that out. I did recently, however, see a beautiful The Carole King musical, finally, on the West End.
Yes, you're doing a little quest of seeing all the long-running shows, which is never-ending, really.
It is, yeah. There were so many shows on my bucket list that I'd never seen. I just sort of wanted to tick them off one by one. So I started with the oldest ones and worked my way forward, and the most recent one on my list was beautiful, and I had a very, very good time with that.
Lovely show, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a great piece, yeah.
Well, David, thank you very much for joining me on this episode of Musical Talk. Please do visit our website at www.musicaltalk.co.uk. It will redirect you to the new website. We are on Instagram and Twitter and Facebook at Musical Talk. David Herzog, my thanks are with you, and I'm Nick Hudson. This episode has been copyright Musical Talk 2017. We'll see you next week. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye, folks.